had a number of pre-applications recently. In case you don't know, pre-applications are where we bring applicants in and we kind of discuss some of the issues up front before they actually apply, so that when they do apply, the process goes a little bit easier. So we've had a couple of pre-applications. Most notably is a proposal for a new Walgreens at the corner of Garden Valley and Stewart Parkway by where Carl's Jr. is in that old Quest Diagnostics building. Again, this is a pre-application, so it certainly may change, but the proposal at this point is to demolish both the Carl's Jr. and the Quest Diagnostics building, construct a new Walgreens, and then reconstruct a Carl's Jr. further back into the hillside.
So, Brian, does this mean there'll be 2 Walgreens in town then?
Yes. And 3 pharmacies on the corner of Stewart Parkway and Garden Valley. At Homewood Court, which is across from Harvard Medical Park, there's a narrow road, and back through there's a proposed residential care facilities for 10 individuals, and we worked out the access issues, and hopefully that will move forward. There's a proposed shop and warehouse behind Subway on Diamond Lake Boulevard, and that's sort of what prompted us with the Creek taking a new course, as they were looking at development proposals and discovered that they've got residential property on their industrial site. Roseburg Rescue is proposing to convert retail space into a chapel, and a liquor store wants to locate next to Sonic, and then a proposed new medical office behind Walmart is looking at going there.
Is the backside of Walmart there?
It's towards the end of, or excuse me, it's more towards the southern end of Renee. Oh, it's on Edenbauer. Okay.
The corner of Edenbauer
and Renan. Yeah. So.
Backside of Walmart.
The water. Moving on to Citizen Advisory Committee updates, the waterfront plan will probably reconvene. Excuse me, that advisory committee will reconvene sometime at the end of this month. And then a few weeks ago, the advisory committee for the 138 project met and discussed at a length where the project should take course. We're still looking for some review and approval by the Federal Highway Authority, but what the committee recommended is that given what we've seen in other cities comparable to Roseburg and along the I-5 corridor, that we're likely not to see a project that exceeds $30 million in that ballpark for something like this, given that it's a modernization project, which is a specific class of project and funding that we can get both at the federal, state, and local level. And then the second part is that Highway 138 is a secondary highway. In other words, there's not as much of a need for larger modernization projects of a secondary highway. Given those factors, it's likely that, that this project would not see something in excess of $30 million. Just for comparison, you might see a lot of interchange projects, like actually on the freeway, like with Del Rio. There's a proposed reconstruction of Del Rio at a cost of $50 million. If you've been to Medford, they've essentially built a new interchange there in South Medford. That's at $75 million, roughly. And then, of course, you've seen the Beltline in Eugene, which is going in several phases at some substantial costs. But all of those are on the freeway system, and so they're eligible for more funding, and generally speaking, there's more of a need for those projects to take place. Whereas with the 138 project, it's a secondary highway modernization project, and so even though we'll make efforts to secure as much funding as possible, given that type of project, it's likely that it will not see anything higher than 30 million. So with that in mind, that essentially, at least at this point, again, this is preliminary, but at this point, 30 million is not going to provide a bridge of any kind. And so likely what we could do is pursue some of the realignment options through downtown, which will get us more immediate results and get us traffic flowing through the city a little bit better. Again, this is just an informational update. It's very preliminary, so it's nothing final, and we do need to get some this formalized in a purpose and needs statement for the project. And then finally, for your information, with the Community Development Department will have a booth at the Umpqua Valley Home Builders Show at the Douglas County Fairgrounds, which will be this weekend, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So stop by and get some free flyers from our department. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Just curious, do you know how much the rerouting of, is it 95 outside of downtown Redmond? They took it, they bumped
97?
97.
I don't. It's
It was on the spreadsheet.
yeah. I'd have to.
Okay.
I don't know that immediately, but I could look that up for you. I know that they have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but I know that they have taken both Bend and Redmond. I know have taken several exceptions to the federal highway standards, and so we've seen them at the Oregon Transportation Commission almost on a regular basis. It seems like they're constantly giving hearings for what seems like just a project update, but they are taking exceptions. So I know it's the cost is probably up there as well, but I don't know that offhand.
Okay. Thanks.
Tell you a little bit about the 62 sections. Medford, which is a bypass for the Cradle Highway. And right now, the first phase is approximately 4 miles, and that's in excess of $100 million. That includes 3 structures, though.
But at its worst, 62 has traffic volumes similar to I-5.
That's correct. It has traffic volumes in excess of over 40,000 cars a day in that area.
And 138 is nowhere near that. But I will say, having attended the meeting, everyone was very positive. We even, at the end, developed, Marion, correct me if I'm wrong, a formal consensus on making that a definitive goal to not exceed, I believe it was a $30 million budget.
And I think another thing that's important, what they still are talking about and will continue to talk about, is that they're looking at safety, connectivity, and mobility. And those are still primary goals. They'll be addressed in perhaps different ways than a bridge.